views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mission BX. I'm your host, Eileen Newman, and Mission BX is a collaboration between the Center for Bronx Nonprofits and BronxNet. And our mission is to visit nonprofits in the Bronx, now virtually, who are doing wonderful work to make people's lives better. Today, as a great example of that, we're going to Kingsbridge Heights Community Center, and we're going to be meeting with the executive director and a woman who's running a program concentrating on trauma victims and victims of domestic violence. So come with us and learn about another great Bronx organization. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mission BX again, and we are here at Kingsbridge Heights Community Center with Margaret, Della, who is the executive director, and Sagri, who is working with domestic violence victims and victims of trauma, a subject that we're particularly interested now because there seems to be a big uptick in, unfortunately, in that kind of behavior. And we wanted to talk to both of them about what happens at Kingsbridge Heights Community Center and specifically what the work is with domestic violence. So Margaret, thank you for doing this. I know it's hard to squish all of these things together, and I know you're doing a lot over there. So what we always like to start the show about what were you doing before the pandemic? What was the work of Kingsbridge Heights Community Center?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about all that Kingsbridge Heights Community Center, KHCC, we affectionately call it, all that we do in serving the community. And I think KHCC has really been focused on supporting communities. Specifically, our mission is to provide resources to empower Bronx residents from cradle to career to advance education and well-being for the community. And so we do that through a number of ways. It's really focused on academic milestones, technology, mental health support, nutrition, technology, the arts, all of those pieces that really contribute to a quality of life. Definitely, we're focused on all of the aspects of a human being that allows a person to thrive in the community that they live. And so that has existed at KHCC for over 45 years. And in addition, we're also part of a legacy within New York City that is not just in the Bronx community, but extends throughout all 5 boroughs, throughout parts of New York State, certainly internationally, and that's being a settlement house. And a settlement house is really focused on driving change that is responsive to the needs of the community through advocacy, through equity, through access and opportunities. And so that is sort of like the larger role of Kingsbridge Heights Community Center within the Bronx and as a part of a social justice movement throughout the world. So,
and Margaret, how long have you been there?
I've been at KHCC for a little over 4 years now.
Okay. Because I remember when you first started.
Yes.
Yes.
light years ago.
Yes, I know. And I had probably been at the center for maybe 3 years before you started. So wow. Who's the community? Who are the people in the community? What would you say the community is? Is it, do you work with seniors and you work with little ones?
So we say we work from cradle to career. So we're focusing on young children all the way up to adulthood. Our main focus is really on working families, individuals primarily people of color. So our community is often Dominican, Puerto Rican, West African, Southeast Asian. Sagrario, give me a shout out if I'm missing some of the other areas where we're working. In addition, Arabic speaking community members as well that are coming from different parts of the world. So our focus is on a broad spectrum of individuals who are coming from different parts of the globe. And this is, again, a part of the legacy of our work. And it's really about giving those individuals a space for resources, for access to opportunities, building a really rich community that incorporates all those different components. Our young children are as young as in utero. We have expectant mothers coming to KHCC, babies as young as 3 months old, and I think our oldest participant is about 75. So we're really focusing on the spectrum of an individual from cradle to career and wherever people choose to go after that.
So how many people would you say on an average you serve, or in general?
In general, we serve 4,500 individuals throughout the year. Every day, you can expect that our program staff are working with at least 1,000 people every single day. And that's from young children to school-age children and adults.
So March arrives, the world changes, and what happened? What did you do? What are you doing? How has it changed?
Yeah. Well, to say that our staff really made all things possible is an understatement. From staff who are predominantly social workers, therapists, teachers, to take that interpersonal communication, that one-on-one, that face-to-face communication, and translate that overnight to virtual sessions where children and youth are getting all of the academic requirements, all of the social emotional needs met through a virtual platform is really incredible. Like I'm still baffled that our team has accomplished this virtually in no time at all. And so everything from working with young children who you'd imagine have a very hard time being focused in front of a computer or a phone in terms of engaging with a teacher, they've done such an excellent job. Sagrario is going to talk a little bit more about our Changing Futures team, which has focused on telehealth. Our Changing Futures team has focused on trauma predominantly in long-term treatment and therapy for trauma survivors, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, and campus assault. And they have expanded their telehealth work to not only be working with those survivors, but to also provide grief counseling and broader mental health counseling, as this is an incredible pandemic that is hitting humans in so many different ways. Some of the creative things that they've done is also to expand horticultural therapy. So as our communities begin to reopen, that's one of our most creative ways of helping us do that in a safe way. We have programs for school-aged youth with special needs. Our team has sort of basically done incredible things to make sure that those students in particular that need additional support and additional platforms through the computer, platforms that work well for the teen so that the youth can focus on whatever the activity is. That has been an ongoing challenge for the team, but they've done such an incredible job and really be responsive to whatever the participants' needs are. We also really expanded our food pantry. Right. So in the immediate wake of the pandemic, our case management program, which is called KHCC Connect, that program has existed to connect all the different silos. So if you're coming into KHCC and you have a young child, but you also have a teenager, you're coming in, you need programs and resources for both of those children. So we want to be sure that you don't get lost in that process and that the handoff from one program to the other is seamless. And we also want to assess how else the family is doing. What other needs might you have? Are you at risk of eviction? Are you at risk of being food insecure? Are there other ways that we can be helpful and supportive during any period of time to keep the family or individual stable and to keep them moving forward? So KHCC Connect was really vital in our food pantry to be sure that we were identifying people who were food insecure basically overnight, making sure that those families were coming in through our doors to be able to get food. And they were really leading the charge in emergency supplies. So things that families need right away, diapers, wipes, food, toiletries, covering the cost of a bill that was going to be detrimental to the stability of the family. All those sorts of things go on within KHCC. In the, certainly in normal times, but this, during the pandemic, that's been where we focused.
And every once in a while, or often, I would get an email that you were blasting out, and that was part of the reason that I wanted to talk to you and your team, because I would think, wait, now she's collecting diapers and doing everything. So it was so that, and I think that settlement houses are extraordinary in that way, is that they're a little bit of everything. When you walk in the door, you can figure out how to get whatever help you need, and maybe some help you didn't even realize that you needed. And before we have to cut to a break in a minute, and then I want to talk to Sagrario. How do people enter your realm? So is it that they have to live in the neighborhood, or what are the opportunities for people to get help?
Sure. And thank you for saying that. I think that's one of the most important ways that the human service sector will help New York City and New York State recover, is because of settlement houses that are so nimble, that can turn on a dime, that can be providing critical needs and services to the community, because we know the community, because we're settled in the community, because we're of the community. So thank you, Eileen. I really appreciate that. So the way to access KHCC services is, certainly through KHCC Connect, which can be a broad resource for identifying whatever your needs might be. Maybe you don't even know what your needs are just yet, but you need some help. Maybe you need somebody to talk to. Maybe you are anticipating a place where your child needs to go over the summer or over the fall. And sort of getting life, hopefully some way shorter, sooner rather than later, back to a way where we're coming together again. But you can access through our website, khcc-nyc.org, and you can get access to any of our programs. So that's early childhood, that's changing futures for therapy, it's school age programs, after school programs, all the way up to college directions, leadership transitions, and conflict management, and all the things that teens need to be well equipped for the world. So you can really access us through any of our programs, and you can also access us through KHCC Connect, which will help you know where you need to fit.
Great. So that's perfect, because we have to take a break. And then we're going to come back and talk about the trauma program and talk with Sagrario. So thank you.
Thank you.
welcome back, everybody, to Kingsbridge Heights Community Center. And we're going to be speaking with Sagrario Garcia, who runs a program specifically working with people in trauma and with domestic violence, and which is something that we've had a big interest in right now, because I'm sure you've all read that domestic violence statistics are climbing during this pandemic. So Sagrario, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your program is, and then we can talk specifically about the domestic violence piece?
Sure. My program's name is Changing Futures Program, and we provide services to sexual abuse, domestic violence, and general trauma. We start from the ages of 3 all the way to adulthood. We also provide support groups for parents. I myself run the parenting journey. I facilitate the program Beyond Trauma for women that have gone through trauma, just as domestic violence and sexual abuse, assault. And also we have play therapy and art therapy for children, 3 years old, 3 all the way like to 12 years old, depending.
And so I have a question about domestic violence and where it fits into the other work that's going on. It seems to me that there are some places that don't include domestic violence as part of what they offer in the community. And is that because it's almost a different skill set, and that you have to have people who are trained in different ways, and not every organization can afford to do that or has the ability?
Well, basically, we were focused more on child sexual abuse.
Okay.
But seeing that in the community, there were a lot when we engaged with a therapist. Sorry, because I'm not a therapist. The therapist engaged with the children. They saw that children were coming from an abusive relationship with the parents. So I think everything came together, and they said, you know, we have to try to work with the community in domestic violence. And I don't know exactly, because I have now 5 years with Changing
Right.
Futures. And when I came in already, domestic violence was already part of the program.
Yeah.
But now domestic violence has gone on a rise, and more we see in the community that we need to engage with the parents and with the community of domestic violence. So I think that's where it came from more.
So has it been on the rise because of COVID? What are you seeing? What are people telling you? What is it? Is it the lockdown and that the fact that people can't get away from each other?
Right. The calls that I receive, and when I talk to the participants, it's more that the husband is at home, the partner's at home. There's no work. They have nowhere to go. So this is where the rise is coming from. They're at home seeing each other. They don't have any escape. They're with the children. Homework is involved. Income is involved. And that plays a great part of everything that's going on.
So you get a call from somebody, or you see through the child who might be in some of your programs that something's going on. What do you do? What can you do?
Well, first step, I receive the calls. I mostly get them from ACS. I get them from the hospitals when they have a participant that has been involved in domestic violence. My job is to, as soon as I make I do that intake, is to contact the person. First, we have to make sure that that person is safe to talk on the phone. So
Right.
we don't call has a domestic violence problem.
Right.
We try to engage with the person, and then we ask, and you know, in a safe way, is it safe for them to talk right now, or can you be available to talk right now? Is there another time that you can talk? And they let me know right there if they can talk or not. I'm gonna give you an example. We had a call not too long ago, and the lady was scared. She was scared. She had her 3 children in the home, and this man was knocking on the door and threatening her. she wasn't ready to leave the relationship. But it was my job to assign her right away to a therapist. And in 2 days, we had the shelter go to her house and get her. Because we were engaged with her all day. We made sure that she wasn't alone. Yeah. So like I said, it's my job to make sure that after I do that intake with that person is safe.
And are there other organizations you work with? Because this must be, you must have to either have a lot of people working there, or you have to be able to have other support systems.
Like I said, I have to make sure that person is safe. So my job is to go through all the resources that I have to make sure that we have this person safe. I have Safe Horizon. That's the first contact that I make. And I also have VIP, Violence Intervention for Women.
Right.
It's a very good program. I think when I work with them, I don't have to go beyond, because they take charge right away and we work together and make sure that that person is safe.
I applaud what you're doing. That is such needed and such difficult work, I can imagine. I mean, it must be a heartbreak to hear these phone calls.
It is, and it's you don't have peace till you know that that person is not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
I myself come from a domestic violence relationship back in the past, so I know, and I want to make sure that person.
Yeah.
I just want to wake up one day and know that we're getting rid of this.
Right. And and of course, having this all be so much work so much worse at this time when everybody is
when everybody's home, everybody's
and worried about being sick, or people are sick. Yeah. So thank you so much for what you do and for talking to us about it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And Margaret, can we come back to you?
Sure.
So I have a couple of questions about future of the organization now. So you've been doing all this work. How are you in terms of resources? You must be expanding a lot. Did you get the paycheck money? Okay.
We did. And yes, it's very good, especially because nonprofits are consistently under-resourced.
Yes.
So for all the things that Sagrario described, we have programs that are working across Changing Futures. So they're working with court-involved youth that then connect with Changing Futures, that then connect with the Teen Center to be sure that young men and women, if they are involved in the court system or at risk of being involved, we want to be sure that we're making, that they stay out, that they have a place to go with whatever needs they have, and make sure that they're on a productive path within our community. And so to be sure that those programs stay afloat, we needed PPP because city, state contracts have all slowed down. Even if we have a contract, the money just wasn't coming into our bank account. So in order for us to keep people moving forward, we're waiting on those contracts that we literally have that the city or the state has obligated that money to us. We are now battling to make sure that those programs and services that are so critical to not only supporting the community right now, but in recovery, we need to be sure that people are paid. So that's been critical just to help us get through this gap. And we're really trying to focus on the federal government to be sure that there's flexibility for organizations, because come 7/1, contracts renew. And we're in an even worse scenario than we were just a few weeks ago. So we're hoping that leaders at the city, the state, and the federal levels are very conscientious of how young men and women, how communities of color are going to recover from this crisis. And so thank you for asking about funding, because it's often overlooked.
No, I mean, I know that is a huge, actually, right after this, we have, I don't know if you saw it, but we have a series on financial emergencies. So where this is the second one we're going to be doing, and it's about the paychecks and sustainability, because I think at times like this, the money comes in, but I'm worried about 6 months from now, a year from now for all of you, because that's when it gets dicier. So
yeah. And that's part of what our focus is now. We want to be sure that greater policing of our communities is not the funding focus, but that we're investing within the communities, that we're investing within young men and women. We continue to invest within survivors, and understanding that all these pieces are interconnected. You're doing well in school, but you can't do well in school if you have a trauma history and you're not getting the therapy that you need. If English is your second language, how are you going to be able to advocate for your children when they're in school, or maybe when they're at home? You need ESOL classes to be stronger in your reading, writing, and comprehension skills in English. You need a place where your children can go so you can go to work. You need to be sure that your child is developing appropriately and getting all of the needs and resources met for your child so they can be successful when they get to kindergarten. All these pieces are interconnected, and this is part of New York State and part of New York City, and how we recover together.
That was beautifully put, and exactly what, if we could only take that and put that in somewhere up so that people see it and understand what I know what it's trying to do. So thank you. And this was great. It was great to talk to you again, and let's hope that the money comes in and you can keep doing this good work. And Sagri, thank you too. Somewhere in the midst of all of this, you're managing to do incredible stuff. So thank you again.
Definitely. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but that's all we have time for today. But if you've missed part of this show, or you would like to share it with friends, go on BronxNet.tv and look for Mission BX, and you can see the show. Thank you so much for being with us, and join us again very soon for another trip to a wonderful Bronx nonprofit.